What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 23 of Roll with the Fox. Today, we're going to go over some bow and arrow choke defenses and modifications. So, one of the most important things about bow and arrow is usually when the guy starts to set it up, he's usually mounted in a gift wrap position, very dominant position. So, usually the way I like to, there's a couple of different ways to escape, but the way I like to escape is when I see this is going to happen. So I know he doesn't necessarily have to bring the leg over. I know he's going to start to move backwards. So the key to this defense is the fact that I basically, as I feel him leaning forward, and the reason he's leaning forward is to alleviate sort of the weight in his leg and his hips, so he can sort of sit down. I sort of go with it. So I almost initiate the sequence a split second before he's ready. So as soon as this is happening, I'm looking to look over, and usually I would never do this just with my head alone. You'd always reach for the elbow, but just to show you that it should be the head swim. From here, you're still in danger. You're still in danger of the arm bar, so I tend to stay down to make sure my elbow gets pulled out, and from here I will come up. This is my preferred way to escape a bow and arrow choke. It's timing dependent. I'm going to go over another version of it, but this is timing dependent. Very important to start with the right time and head movement. So your head movement is as you start to go flat, you start to lean your head back, and then you almost look over, but at the same time, you're going to be pulling on the elbow to make sure that you do escape. So let's look at it one more time. So I go hand on his elbow, and I start to initiate, and I'm slipping through the gap. From here, if my elbow is out, you can come up, and you successfully escape. One more time. So again, I'm defending the mount. So usually this leaves the guy no other option other than, arm triangle is going to be hard because my right hand is down towards my hips. So as he starts to go into this, as I feel him leaning, I sort of start to initiate the backwards movement at the same time. Try to make sure that the elbow slips. And from here, if my right elbow is out, I really don't care. If he tries to attack the left arm, by then his body positioning is not in a good way to finish the attack. So, one other sort of way to attack is if the guy winds up especially deep, go ahead, especially if he brings this leg over. By the way, the escape I just went over, it works even if the leg is over, so go ahead. So it still works. From here, I can come up. But let's look at what happens if you fail to free your head. So as he starts to go back and fully locks it. So you could still try to slip the head, but a lot of times if this is impossible, what you can do is grab your gi and pull. This, I don't personally, oh shit. Clearly I would have gotten tapped on this one. Were you holding the other side? No. The video evidence may point otherwise.
I was on the right. We'll double check.
So, guys, chime in. I believe the video evidence will support
the bar. Let's check the bar.
So what you could do is grab the lapel and straighten and pull. I have had guys defended when I was trying to choke them, and I don't have the strongest grips, so it works. For me, this is not a good option. You got a guy with strong grips, it may not work, but that's another option. I personally prefer the one where you slip the elbow, so I usually try to initiate before you get into serious trouble. All right, so again, when you have, it's going to be hard for you to strip the hand. but you could sort of just grab your own gi and just straighten it out and pull. All right, so this is a viable option, but again, at this point, it depends how strong the guy's grips are. Roger Gracie one time told me that this is a fairly common way to escape. But you know, this is actually in the gi competition. This is a very good submission. You see a lot of guys getting submitted off it, and the reason for that is usually they fight the guard pass so hard, so there's no 3 points scored on them. That by the time they actually sort of stop fighting, they're already too deep into this position. So again, grab your lapel, straighten out, and you're free. Now, you still have obviously big issues in terms of positioning. So those are probably the two most common ways to defend the bow and arrow choke. So for me, when I do the bow and arrow choke, and I like it, I've kind of modified it. So the way that Enrique's been let's see where, so this is the way. So usually the guy controls, again, if you're doing it, guys, don't grab at the hip, grab at the pant leg, okay? Because you want to make sure you control his hips a little bit with this. And as the guy sits in, so it's going to be very hard for him to slip through. But if he uses the second escape, or even the primary escape, it's here he could still do it. And now I sat a little, which is a little bit, so now it's a bit of a scramble. I may wind up on the bottom. So if he does the escape that I did the first time around, it may put you in a bad position. So I actually modified it, and I, to be honest with you, I don't even realize I modified it when I first started doing it. I actually was training with a guy that was visiting Renzo's. He was a brown belt at the time. It's a long time ago. And I literally hit it like this, just intuitively. And he went out. So I knew it was good. So as I get the grip, and I get the pan grip, so I know at this point, rather than kind of leaning forward, so now he knows. I just gave away that basically I'm going to do it, and now it's like a little bit of a timing issue. So I just basically put my head next to this. So that escape becomes impossible. It's very difficult, and should I actually, so he only has the ripping of the lapel. So he can only pull the lapel. So that's the only way that he might possibly be able to escape this. Which again, if my wrists are messed up, so I usually, if the guy's technically defends the submission, the gi grip, usually he'll escape. But again, as you know, my game, I always try to keep myself in a very dominant position. So should this tail, no problem. I'm still in a dominant position, so I can re-attack with something else. Whereas if I sit back, and he slips out, yeah, especially with Enrique, he's good at arching. You know, now it's a scramble. I'm hunting for him from the bottom. So again, when you attack from the bottom, my job is to make sure I wind up on top if I fail with the submission. When I attack from the top, my job is to finish them or at least wind up in a dominant position. So let's go over the modification again. So as I do this, and he knows now. So a lot of times he won't, so you could see that Enrique initiated that defense first. Go. It actually made the choke. He I didn't have to move. So I didn't have to move. So usually it's timing for him. So he needs to sort of wait for me. John, I got it the first time, right? John is doing time. I saw it. Clearly, you did not see my nod. So, as I'm going for this, so if he tries to be, then I just stay. He just put himself into the choke without the possibility of escaping other than ripping the lapel. So, here he needs to wait for this. So rather than actually giving him that big cue that I'm about to finish him, I just put my head off to the side and it's done. And I'm actively pulling. So again, it becomes like a bow and arrow. So this is my preferred way to finish bow and arrow choke. Guys, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please help us spread the word of jiu-jitsu around the world. Like, share, subscribe.
But they didn't ask any questions today.
Yeah, because it's pre-recorded. We'll see you next week.